And finally, except for one little part, I have the interior done. And this took so much time, and I hope this was the long portion of the build, because if the bigger outside takes longer than this, I'm never going to finish this project. But yeah, the interior is complete for the most part. One or two things still I need to do, but at least I could almost get ready to seal it up. And wanted to show this to you one more time before doing that, just to give you a look-see what's going on inside, because once I seal this, it's going to be really hard to see inside here. So I got my papers in there. I put papers on the desks, the consoles, and over there, and we have our pilot, Commander Pilot, added there. And pretty decent so far. Couple things. I decided to tell a bit of a story here. It comes with the two figures. It has the commander inside, and it has the guy in the suit that's supposed to go on the outside. But I had the idea of trying to tell a little bit of story about only having one figure visible. And then the question is, okay, where's the other guy? Because this is clearly a two-person craft. So try to factor it around that a little bit. The other person who's missing is probably a lower level person, and so he has the bunk that has all the little dirty magazines back there, and also his console is messier. He's got a Time magazine, papers strewn about, and oh, please tell me I forgot to look for it before turning on the camera. There it is. I found it. It's not quite done yet. I even made a little tiny coffee cup that I'm going to add to it. I still have to add the coffee, and that's going to be on there. So one side is messier, and then you have the commander side, which is much more cleaner. Papers are organized, and since they are the suits here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but I took the guy that's supposed to be on the outside, and I chopped up his suit, and I put it in one of these suit storage areas. I would have liked to fit the whole suit in there, but it actually did not fit. So I had to kind of chop it up and just put like the armored parts. Probably shouldn't have put the shoes where they're at, because it looks like it's an invisible midget is in there right now. And yes, I know Randy Cooper sells empty suits for here, but it's a bit more fun, trying to convert what you have than get something that's pre-made. And also, of course, there's the money cost. So I still had to trim it down to get the suit in there, because the back was a little bit too big. And I could have, if I did enough work, fit the entire suit in there, but then the lights wouldn't light any of it up, because it would be blocking that whole container. It's just too small for it. So there you go. Build things before I forget. I know I mentioned the light leak problem here. That was an issue. Two things putting this whole thing together. First was the bed. Way back when I started, I mentioned the two tabs that were too long on the bottom of the bunks. I think that actually might be a mistake in this piece, because when I went to put this in place, the tabs did not line up at all, and I ended up having to clip them off entirely and just kind of figure out what was the best place for this bunk. If you glue it and then put on the top, there is a spot right there where that tab lines up. So get it roughly in place and figure out exactly where it's supposed to go by lining that up. Second thing was this back area here, which is still a little bit loose. I'm doing that on purpose because Pegasus is notorious for not putting the strongest tabs on some of their models, and I haven't found it a problem on this model until getting to this one piece. There's two tabs that go in here, and there's two tiny little tabs that attach along the walls here, and I couldn't figure out exactly where this is supposed to fit, because when you put... I'm not going to be able to line this up properly to get it. Oh no, there it goes. That's roughly in place. Well, not at all actually, but when you fit it, there's a huge gap here. So I don't know yet. I'm assuming that's going to get covered at some point by another piece, but I don't entirely know yet. So I left this a little bit loose, so in case I need to make it adjustments as we get to building the exterior. So that's the only two major build issues I had here. And now for the top, for the lighting, I still have to do the lighting on the inside. I'm waiting to build some of the exterior to figure out exactly how much room I have here, because I really would like to build a dome and put the aluminum tape inside to reflect the light. It does come with a little floppy bit of plastic, which fits right in there. It currently has a protective seal on it. I'm thinking about spraying this with some dull coat to get a frosting on it, so it'll diffuse the light a little bit better. People have mentioned the Aztec dummy build on YouTube, and I have watched that, some of it. He put lights around here, but I want lights on top. I don't want to put them underneath this section. I want to put them up on top instead, so you can't see into the actual lights. So I'm figuring of building a ring here, and with the aluminum tape, that should be enough light to reflect down. We don't want a super intense interior. We want it a little bit dark, so there's some mystery in there. So that's where we are currently at. As I said, I started to build the exterior, as you can see here. I mean, look at the size of these pieces. This is the leg assemblies, if you haven't got an idea how big this is going to be yet. So, yeah, starting to build the exterior, and we'll see how far we get on that. Quick update, I just want to point it out, I found another part that does not fit. I think it was engineered wrong. This little piece that goes into this part, this cradles the ball, the main portion of the ship. And this is supposed to go in like here, but it does not fit at all right here. Even with force, there's no way that is going in. So this piece needs to be trimmed down on the top and the bottom. So another little goof in this kit. So I just wanted to point that out real quick if you're building it at home. I'm gonna take a little bit off the bottom first, and then I'm probably gonna have to take a little bit off the top since it's already hitting and this is angled down a little bit. So, FYI. I have a major mess on the desk right now because I am soldering things like crazy, trying to start putting wires together and what have you. Lots of stuff going on. Got the bells done for the first round. I still need to prime these and do another round of sanding, make sure we have everything nice and smooth. I'm sure there are areas that are still going to show up, so I need to do that. Like I said, I'm trying to button up the... I'll just show it to you now. What the heck. I'll show you this part of the interior. This is the roof that's... Ooh, that is shiny. Sorry. This is the little tiny hat I made for the ceiling of the interior. And I started wiring up individual lights, and then I decided to change my mind, and I went with one of these LED light strips. Rather than putting it around the sides because of height issues, I actually put it in the center. And this is just some scrap styrene that I had. I cut a circle and then just cut a little slit in it and just made a little dome like you would in school. And then I covered it with the tape, or aluminum tape, and I put that in there. So that's going to go on top of the ceiling. I can't show you the ceiling right now because it's drying at the moment. I did want to show you this part. There are a bunch of landing lights on this thing, and this is the hardest part to wire up, especially since I put the legs on already without realizing that I could have left them off to make this a little bit easier. But yeah, you have the lights, little shiny bits that go in. This is too big to handle. That go in here, and then you can actually fit an LED right at the back, a 3mm one, so it just fits right in there. But then the wiring is an issue because this thing is going to stick out the back, or at least the wires are, so you don't have much choice here. You have to have the wires come out this way, which from the other builds I've watched, most of them have done that. But then you have them come out, say, like here. It means you have to wire it into the main body, and you're going to have this big loose wire coming around. I haven't decided exactly how to hide it. Well, obviously I'm not going to be able to hide it at all, but disguise it slightly. I may run it up along the bottom here, or I just may leave it free floating. It's a light that has a wire coming out of it. It makes sense. So that's no big deal. And for all the LEDs going in there, these are a bit wet with liquid rubber electrical tape at the moment. I didn't put on the resistors, so that way when I put on the shrink tube, it's going to be smaller and a smoother look. And then at the bottom end, once we get into the body, I'll wire up all the resistors So that's where we currently stand right now, and I got my wires sitting in ink because I'm still painting my coffee cup. But oh boy, still a mess. Working on the engine thrusters, the bells, and want to show you an old trick that did a video on this years and years ago, but I don't use this too often. For sanding rounded parts, you don't usually want to use a sanding stick too much because you'll end up flattening the area that you're sanding. So they actually make a product that looks just like this. It's very expensive. It's like $20 or $30. Basically, it's just a U-shape wire with a bit of sandpaper on it, but you can make yourself the exact same thing like I did for just a couple bucks. You just get yourself some brass tubing, bend it into a U, put some pins on the end, and then you just take strips of sandpaper and glue them to make a little loop and put it on, and boom, you have a little sanding jig. And what this does, it'll follow the curve of our bell, so we end up not getting that flat spot. And as you see, I already primed these, and I still had a bit of a groove, so I filled that with some Mr. Surfacer, very thick primer, and just sanding it down. And you can see, because we have the two different materials here plus the gray plastic, for example, there's a little line of black there, so I know I have a little divot. So I either have to keep sanding until that divot's gone, or go back and fill that with a bit more primer. So that's why these bells are going to take a while to get perfect, but this helps a lot. So I just want to give you one last photo before I seal this thing up forever. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, because it's going to be really bad fixing it now. I think the only things I've changed are, let's see here. I added the coffee cup. I actually had to make a second one because the first one I made was way too big. Even did a little coffee stain on some paperwork there. And I added, if you see above the coffee cup, there's a little strip. There was a little bit of light leak coming from between these two pieces. So I figured the easiest way to fix that was just to add a little strip of styrene there, and it looks like it blends in fairly well. And I think that is it. And for the top, can't remember if I mentioned or not, but to fog up the clear styrene bits, I was going to leave the protective sheet, but I decided to pull it off. And I was going to spray it with dull coat to get the frosting effect, but actually I decided to try tracing paper, which worked okay. It works a little bit better on the smaller area here. It wrinkled up a little bit as I was using the white glue to put it down, but since you're seeing it at an angle, it shouldn't be a problem. And I just realized I got to do a little touch-up work there before sealing this up. But yeah, let me close all this up in just a moment, and then I'll turn it on real quick. Alright, I know this is a really awkward angle, but I have to put this thing in my lap because I need my hands free to do this. Ta-da! Everything is lit. And I know you can't see it very well. There you go. A little bit better. So yeah, I got all the wires all connected and going to the bottom. They're just going off the 9-volt right now, so this will last about 30 seconds if I keep it on. And we're looking pretty good. So I finally feel like I made some progress here. We can concentrate on the exterior finally. Yay.
Brought to you by the Booze Council, because booze really satisfies.
Booze takes a dull party and makes it better.
Booze makes you popular and heals all wounds.
B-double-O-Z-E